Lights and bruising mixed martial arts.
It's a huge right hand. Doc is covering up. Big elbow. Wow. Do it.
Are you kidding me right now? Literal cage fighters throwing down on the front lawn of the White House. Stop scrolling. You have to see this absolute masterclass in optics.
Far from UFC's typical indoor competition, the president and the UFC's Dana White appearing together. Longtime fight fan President Trump invited the UFC and its corporate sponsors to take over the White House grounds.
Got to thank President Trump for making this happen. Thank you, Dana, all the UFC, everybody. This is unbelievable.
Are you seeing the size of that structure? They literally built a $60 million, 92-foot tall rig right next to the Oval Office. Just look at the cranes and the sheer engineering required to pull this off under the cover of night. The amount of security clearance and logistical nightmares they must have bypassed to get the claw set up is mind-boggling. They turned the most historic residence in the world into a Vegas-style fight island. Pay attention to the lighting. It's totally designed for high-definition, prime-time consumption. And the fact that they used historic rooms as locker rooms, that is a surreal blend of tradition and modern spectacle. You have to appreciate the absolute audacity it takes to look at the White House lawn and say, yeah, let's put a cage fight right there. It completely shatters the formal, stuffy image we usually associate with these grounds. This isn't just event planning. This is a masterclass in dominating the news cycle by doing the absolute unthinkable. No one else could have even pitched this idea without getting laughed out of the room.
Seen boarding Air Force One at 3 a.m. this morning, heading to the G7. 80 years old, and the man's working like a horse. He never sleeps, this guy. It's amazing. It really is. I can't even...
Look at the timestamp on this. It's 3 a.m. After hosting one of the wildest, most high-energy nights in White House history, the guy is literally walking up the steps of Air Force One to fly across the globe. Notice the posture. There's no sluggishness, no hesitation. The stamina required to pull an all-nighter like that, deal with the logistics of a mega event, and then immediately pivot to an international summit is just wild. It completely flips the narrative on its head. Most people would need a week to recover from a party of that magnitude, let alone a man in his late 70s. It's all about creating this mythos of an unstoppable machine. The framing of this shot is brilliant too. The glowing lights of the plane against the pitch black night sky. It looks like a scene straight out of an action movie. It subtly reinforces this idea of a leader who is literally burning the midnight oil while everyone else is asleep. You just can't manufacture that kind of authentic, relentless drive, and the camera captures it perfectly.
Coming off a late night at the White House, a celebration of the nation's 250th anniversary.
Did you hear the roar of those engines? That's not just an opening ceremony. That is a massive display of sheer power. Look at the precision of the formation as they buzz right over the iconic columns. The sheer volume of that flyover must have rattled the windows. When you combine military might with a sporting event, you instantly tap into this deep-seated sense of national pride. Notice the crowd's reaction down below. They are absolutely losing their minds. It sets the tone for the entire night before a single punch is even thrown. This is how you command attention on a global scale. It's not a quiet, dignified affair. It is loud, unapologetic, and completely overwhelming to the senses. The coordination required to time those jets perfectly with the end of the anthem is no small feat. It's a visual and auditory shock and awe campaign designed to hype everyone up to a fever pitch. You really have to appreciate the absolute mastery of stagecraft on display here. They left absolutely nothing on the table.
And spectators and attendants, including members of the administration, military veterans, Joe Rogan commentating. When the national anthem was sung before the first fight, a group of bomber planes buzzing overhead, sending the crowd roaring.
Hold up, check out Joe Rogan right there in the mix. Having Rogan commentating live from the White House is a massive cultural crossover. Look at the fighter he's interviewing, decked out in the American flag bandana, pure adrenaline pumping. Rogan's presence brings an entirely different demographic to a political space. It immediately legitimizes the event for millions of younger, anti-establishment viewers who typically couldn't care less about what happens in Washington. Notice how casually Rogan is dressed, totally in his element, treating the presidential residence like it's just another arena in Vegas. This completely bypasses traditional media gatekeepers. By leveraging personalities that have massive independent followings, the reach of this single night is amplified exponentially. It's a brilliant strategy to blend pop culture, sports, and politics into one seamless broadcast. The raw, unscripted nature of a post-fight interview happening steps away from where executive orders are signed is just a surreal juxtaposition. It totally redefines what is considered acceptable or normal for the highest office in the land.
No one is getting left behind this time. No one is getting left behind. Not this time. No one is getting left behind this time. How do we get there? Together or never get there at all.
Oh, you fascists bound to lose. You're bound to lose. You fascists bound to lose. Hey there, all you fascists. Let me put you straight. When you come for the rest of us, we'll fight you at the gate and you will lose. You fascists bound to lose.
Okay, pause for a second and just take in the contrast here. While you had literal gladiators throwing down on the South Lawn, we get this, whatever this is. Look at the energy in this room. It feels incredibly disconnected, almost like a time capsule from a bygone era. The body language is so stiff, and the whole vibe just radiates low energy. When you compare this to the roaring crowds and jet flyovers, the enthusiasm gap isn't just noticeable, it's a massive canyon. It's fascinating from a psychological standpoint. One side is throwing a mega party that taps into raw, primal excitement, while the other is hosting what looks like a mandatory high school assembly. It really makes you wonder who is advising their PR strategy. You can't fight a cultural phenomenon with a sad sing-along. The optics alone are doing so much heavy lifting. If you want to capture the public's imagination, you have to offer something exciting, something that makes people want to tune in. This just feels completely tone deaf to where the cultural momentum is actually shifting right now.
Take a look here. Okay, this is Congress National June polls, Dem leads, and this is NBC News, midterm years with the GOP press. Look at this. They're up by 5 points, but that's half the lead they had back in 2018 when it was 10 points, and less than half the lead they had back in 2006 with 11 points when Democrats took back the House in both of those years. And now the Democratic lead is on a single hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. And it's this type of lead where you say, you know what, Democrats are ahead, but don't count your chickens just quite yet.
And Harry, we've been talking about this. As time goes on, you and I have kept on looking at these numbers saying it just doesn't look like the numbers we've seen when there have been waves for Democrats in the past. What are the trends in the other polls?
Yeah, okay, so this is not just one poll in which we are seeing this. There is this group of pollsters that are out there that are just not showing the wave you might expect given where the president's approval rating is. Okay, what are we talking about? We're talking about NBC, Marquette University Law School, and Ipsos. Look at where they were January and February, and look at where they are May and June. NBC, down a point. MU Law, down 3 points. Ipsos, basically staying the same. So the Democrats hold these leads, but again, you have this group of pollsters that are out there where this lead, simply put, is not matching what you might expect if you're expecting a Democratic wave.
All right, look closely at the body language of the anchors here. You can literally see the realization setting in as they look at those numbers. The chart is glaringly obvious, and the tone of the conversation is full of genuine concern. Notice how they are trying to rationalize the data, pointing out that a 5-point lead is basically nothing compared to historical waves. It's fascinating to watch the narrative shift in real time. They are looking at the exact same cultural momentum we just saw on the lawn, and the polls are finally reflecting it. When you contrast the explosive energy of the previous scenes with this somber, analytical breakdown, it paints a very clear picture of the current political landscape. The realization that traditional strategies are completely failing is written all over their faces. They know that you can't fight a spectacle with statistics. This segment perfectly encapsulates the panic of realizing the old rules of engagement no longer apply. It's a stark reminder that pure momentum and enthusiasm often crush conventional political theory, and the math is just finally catching up. What a wild contrast. Drop a comment below with what you noticed, and I'll catch you in the next breakdown.